What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunched Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola said this, I think, was very interesting. He said this version of Andy Ruiz would easily knock out AJ. They didn't expect this Chris Arreola, though. Wow. Chris Arreola went on to say this. He says, no, I was better. He says, Arreola said, that's the key. I was better. I was a better fighter. They didn't expect this Chris Arreola. You know, no respect to him. You know, he came out in great shape, and he was in great shape. This fighter would beat AJ, would easily knock out AJ, but he couldn't do that shit to me because I'm a better fighter. I came in great condition, and I was ready for everything they had to offer. I was ready for it, and fuck the judges and suck my you-know-what. Ooh. Okay. Now, you have to look at this like as a look at it on who's saying it. Chris Arreola saying it coming off a pretty impressive, ballsy performance of himself to the hands with his partner, Andy Ruiz. And to say that this version of Andy would beat Joshua, I'm assuming the Joshua that fought him the second time, so maybe the Joshua now, right? So that's what I'm assuming he said, and I'll get back to that later. That version of Andy would have beaten Anthony Joshua any day. The only difference is he's just a better fighter. So let me counterpunch right now. I have to disagree. The version of Andy Ruiz would beat Anthony Joshua. I mean, what proves that? What is he basing that on? Is he basing that on the fact that Andy Ruiz looked faster, looked anything special? He looked decent at best. He didn't look like he had changed any to me. I wasn't really impressed. I seen he was a lot smaller. But then I see his resilience being a lot worse. And I think that's what helped Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola did a good job. He's done things he's never done before. I understand if you want something you never had, you got to do something you never done. I get that. But at the end of the day, people, Chris Arreola did a decent job against a guy that was really untested that hasn't fought in over a year. And who's to say that'll happen again if he gets his bearings back? More than likely it will. More than likely Andy will rematch Chris Arreola, give him another paycheck, and give him somewhat of a Mexican rival, because maybe Andy needs that. So this was probably the best thing for Andy before he goes up, to the higher echelon of competition, to the Luis Ortiz's, the Dillian Whites, the Deontay Wilders, those guys, because he might not be ready for it. And then people, will probably push him to take a rematch with him because deep down inside, they pretty much know he's not ready for those other guys yet. Okay, so let's keep it that. Let's keep it a buck. However, with Chris Arreola saying that, I mean, that's just convenient to say for him doing a good job. Well, I was just a better fighter. You're a better fighter than whom? You still lost. It was you know what I mean? It was closer scorecards than what they reflected, no doubt about it, but he still lost. Andy Ruiz outpointed him. He didn't drop him or anything, but he did enough to win, I feel. Right? I mean, I just think it was supposed to be closer. Like Dominic Toretto says, if you win by an inch or a mile, winning's winning, but at the end of the day, he still lost. And then him saying this version of Andy Ruiz would beat Anthony Joshua, which Anthony Joshua? You talking about the Joshua that showed up in Madison Square Garden, that Joshua? Or are you talking about the Joshua that was a dancing, floating like a butterfly, sting like a dragonfly kind of Anthony Joshua? Was that the one? Because in my opinion, both of those guys beat this version of Andy we saw. Did both of them. Even the one that came at Andy. He might have a better chance, the version of Andy right now, versus the first Joshua in Madison Square Garden, the MSG Joshua. Let's call him that, right? So I think that guy may have a worse or a lesser chance of beating the guy right now. But the guy right now, he gets knocked out by Anthony Joshua right now. You know what I mean? Because his resilience is gone. Maybe something that, all the fat that was sucked out of him, some of that machismo went with that gordo, right? Some of that macho-ness went with the fat. Okay, so it is what it is. I don't think that this Andy Ruiz would do that. And only him saying, well, hey, I'm a better fighter, that just gives him props. So of course he would say that. That would be the thing to say for Chris Arreola. I mean, what else could he say? You know? And then to put that's the cherry on top. Oh, I think he would beat Anthony Joshua. Fuck all you guys. Right? But no, that's the first thing I thought, like, wow, I'm glad you didn't go up and fight nobody like this. Luis Ortiz would have beat your ass last year. I would have knew that. You know, that the only thing that hurts Luis Ortiz is his age. That's it. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't look like he is the fighter that he used to be. I'm not talking about how old he really is. I just know he's old enough to know that he's past his prime. He's not that same guy that threw a counterpunch on the drop of a dime. Bars. Not that guy. And they still didn't want a piece of that guy during Corona season in a bubble. They still didn't want none of King Kong. So it is what it is. But to say that Andy Ruiz would beat Anthony Joshua, no, that's just giving himself props. And I think he needs to check himself. And while we're at it, people, Andy Ruiz said that Chris Arreola was like the 4th or 5th best middleweight. How in the fuck? How? Okay, and that was supposed to be another video, but let's do that right now. How is Chris Arreola a top 5? Yep, he made a great account of himself. Hey, not taking anything away from his performance. But what I am saying is, how in the Hades, right, is Chris Arreola number 4 or 5? Huh? Okay, let's look at it. Let's look. Tyson, Joshua, White, Wilder, Ortiz. Where the fuck does Chris Arreola come in? Now, these are the top 5 heavyweights, no doubt about it. So we can't even argue that. Okay, you might say Joyce, right? Hergovic. And those guys are down on their top 10 probably, more than likely. Usyk. Okay, you could put Usyk in the top 4. I forgot about him. But again, where the hell does Arreola come in at? But according to Andy Ruiz, yeah, he's one of the best. He's number top 5. Bullshit. No, he's not, Andy. Stop lying. Stop lying. We don't even know where he is right now. So stop lying. But anyway, I just had to get that out of there because I meant to do a video on that. I just forgot it. But I wanted to cover that. You know, that's BS. No. Chris Arreola doesn't have anywhere near the top 5, so stop. But Chris Arreola is saying he's a better fighter. Yeah, but he's saying that like I'm a better fighter compared to how I used to be. Now, if he's saying I'm a better fighter than Ruiz or all these other guys, he's lying too. So anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Chris Arreola saying that this version of Andy Ruiz would beat Anthony Joshua. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.